Can you hear that? There's a taco truck showing up outside my office. They always play a little song. It's really great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next session for the virtual TRA Marketplace. This is a really exciting session. We have a wonderful relationship between the Texas Restaurant Association and the Texas Workforce Commission, which has come in handy quite a bit during the last 5 months or so of the pandemic. Normally, we speak to Commissioner Demerson and Tommy Simmons, who are in the area where they represent employers. But we know that there are a lot of questions out there from employees, the people that are on your teams every single day, asking questions about unemployment benefits, what's going on with the additional federal benefits. There's a ton of questions in this realm too. So we asked our friends at TWC if they would mind bringing us some experts on the employee side so that we can answer their questions too. And we're really grateful that they have done that today. So with me today is Clay Cole, and Clay has served the agency in various capacities for the past 28 years. Clay, good job on that. That's amazing. He has served as Deputy Director of Unemployment Insurance, Director of UI Customer Service, Manager of UI Business Support, and Project Manager, providing oversight for many automation projects implemented at TWC. And the division is made up of roughly 1,500 staff across the state. And Clay, you'll have to tell us if that number has increased since the pandemic started. Clay also helped lead the unemployment insurance response to major disasters such as Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Ike, and Harvey. He graduated with a BA from Concordia Lutheran University in Austin, Texas. We're so grateful to have you here today, Clay. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna. Just happy to be here, and I hope I can answer, all the questions out there from the employees associated to your group. And again, just want to share as much information as I can to make it as easy, because I do know there's still a lot of individuals out there in need during these just unprecedented historical times that we're all trying to navigate. And so what I want to do is just try to provide some background, kind of where we've been, where we're at, and again, just answer all the questions that that your team may have. And clearly, that's kind of a little intro, but the big thing is just like I mentioned at first, is we realize there's still a lot of people that need, and there's a huge demand on our resources. And we continue to work to evolve and improve continuously to meet that demand. All started back on March 13 when the governor, declared a statewide disaster for all counties in Texas. We're used to reacting to disasters frequently at the Texas Workforce Commission. I've been witness to major disasters from Hurricane Katrina, which hit Louisiana, but we played a vital role. Ike, and then a couple of years ago, Hurricane Harvey, which we thought was just massive, but nothing like this pandemic have we seen. Just a surge like we've seen. March 29th, TWC reaches an agreement with the Department of Labor to implement the Coronavirus Relief Economic Security Act, the CARES Act, and this immediately provided some flexibilities for us to pass on to individuals that were impacted. The governor, we waived the waiting week through an executive order from the governor, waived work search through our executive director, and we protected the covered employers' accounts from chargeback. March 30th is when Governor Abbott issued executive order for everyone in the state of Texas to stay at home. That seems like a long time ago, just roughly 5, but what an impact. This gives you kind of just some perspective of the surge that we experienced back in 2018, 2019. And actually, this slide isn't updated, I'm sorry. It's really 2017, 3-year combination, 2017, 2018, 2019. We took approximately 2.4 million unemployment claims over that 3-year period. You can see in the last 5 months, we've taken over 4.5 million claims. So we've almost doubled what we took over a 3-year span in a matter of 5 months. So you can only imagine.
That is amazing. I definitely
we talk about, just really it's roughly, we estimated, and it's been a month or so, We were estimating then it was about a 1,300 or 1,300% increase in activity, which, if you run a business and you have something of that magnitude, it's just, it takes a little while to adjust and meet that demand. And this is kind of, again, some perspective. In March, we were taking roughly about 12,000 claims on average. And you can see, well, in processing those claims, about 50% of them were done over the phone, 50% over the internet. March 8th, we knew something, we could feel the uptick. And that time, 44% by phone, the other 60 or 56 over the internet. And then starting March 15th, when the surge really began, when we went, from the 2 weeks before, 12,000 a week to 158,000 claims. And so immediately, we realized to meet the demand, we had to provide self-service. And you can see that internet self-service system was starting to really kick in and provide much needed support to those people in need. And then you can see even back in April, it just kept increasing, 291,000 and then 325,000. So again, starting at 12,000 a week in a matter of, over, a little over 4 weeks, we went up to 325,000 claims in a week, and 93% over the internet. Today, again, we've taken roughly 4.5 million claims and paid out over $25 billion in unemployment benefits. So, I know we are reaching a lot of people, but like I said, I know there's still some people out there that need our services, but you can just see, again, the amount of unemployment we're paying throughout Texans. Redirected, and this is kind of our response initially, redirected 450 TWC employees to help with our unemployment claims operation, hired 300 temporary employees, and then we contracted with 4 different contractor partners to roughly increase our resources by 1,500 staff. And we keep doing this internally and externally with our contract partners to keep upscaling. I will, during these difficult times, it is tough sometimes though to bring on staff, especially the way our processes work. Initially, we like these people to come into an office so that we can train them and get them up to speed of interacting with our complicated systems. And, many times people are just very hesitant to come in an office and work. And that just adds a kind of little extra challenge to us in continuing to increase employees. But we continue to do that so that we can, meet that demand. Trained more than 600 volunteers from the Texas House and Senate, and over 350 TWC volunteers from other divisions in our agency that came over to assist us. Upgraded our technology initially. Our internet, that I talked about earlier, using that as our, primary vehicle for servicing our customers, it could only, we never had a problem. It could handle 1,000 concurrent users at one time. But we've quadrupled our system capacity so that now we can handle 20,000 users at one time. And that system is very stabilized. In March and April, we had a few days, I think 5 in each month, to where we had some downtime because the system was overloaded. But now when we've got it, once we quadrupled the capacity, it's been very stable. We created Larry the Chatbot. It's a virtual assistant that answers basic questions online. You can find him at our main web page, and there at the bottom right-hand corner, you can ask him questions, and you can also even get request a call back. So if you don't know that, now you do. So
why is his name Larry?
What's that?
Why is his name Larry?
Yeah, I'm glad you answered. And I don't know, did you? I'm glad you made sure that I covered that, Anna. I don't know if you knew, but yeah, our former executive director for a long time was Larry Temple, who recently passed away. And
Okay.
in honor of Mr. Larry Temple is why we named it. And so we thought it was very fitting. And he's still very active with us and
Wonderful.
helping assist people like he did for so many years. Um, Here in terms of the response, still the Governor Abbott, like I mentioned, waived the waiting week, waived work search, and we expanded our call centers. We're still 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Uh, we even, on several of the holidays that have occurred, we continue to stay open to try to serve as many customers as we possibly can. We expanded our teleserve. That's our interactive voice response system. It's now available 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. weekdays. That's where you go to request payment every 2 weeks if you're not using our unemployment benefit services system online. We also really started promoting shared work program, which allows employers to reduce normal weekly hours while continuing to give those employees benefits and stay on the payroll as they, help to close the income gap. For the five past months, we've taken processed 2,618 new plans for the shared work program, helping roughly 127,000 employees keep their jobs while they're um, unemployed and still working part-time. We backdated COVID-19 related claims so affected customers would receive retroactive benefits. I will note as we can continue to get further and further away from when this initially hit, that's not just automatic. We look at that on a case-by-case basis, depending and determining if there's good cause. Normally, we do not allow backdating unless it's good cause, when somebody just simply cannot reach us, and because they can't get through. And so now, again, things have stabilized from an internet perspective. I know it's still difficult to reach us through our 1-800 numbers a lot, but and so we've slowed down a little on that. A little different from those that are on pandemic unemployment assistance. There's a little factors that come into play there, but I just mentioned that. Of course, we implemented the CARES Act, coronavirus aid and relief, the pandemic unemployment assistance, the federal pandemic unemployment compensation, and we'll talk a little more. But and this is a chart that kind of shows you the different programs, and really there's a few that I'll speak on that aren't included, but normally, we have regular unemployment, and that usually just pertains to people that are what we call covered employees. They work for an employer that pays taxes to the Texas Workforce Commission, and the big thing is reports their wages on a quarterly basis. So that's the traditional people that qualify for unemployment based on their wage credits. And so you qualify up to 26 weeks for regular unemployment, of course. And then if you exhaust the 26 weeks under the Federal CARES Act, you can get up an additional 13 weeks of the pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, which that runs through right now through December 26, 2020. So this is when you exhaust your regular unemployment, then you just transition over to the pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. And you don't have to do anything to do that. The system will just automatically establish your what we call PEUC claim right after you exhaust, and then you continue to request payment every 2 weeks for your PEUC claim. We also, on July, I guess, beginning week ending July 4th, because our unemployment rate was so high, we also triggered onto state extended benefits, which added another 13 weeks on top of that 13 weeks for people that exhaust PEUC. So if you have exhausted your regular and you are about to or exhaust your PEUC, you now qualify for another 13 weeks, and actually another 13 plus 7, another 20 weeks, because our unemployment rate triggered over, again, went so high to the point to where we triggered under the high unemployment period, which adds a 7-week to the 13 weeks of state extended benefits. So altogether, if you're a recipient of regular state UI, you could get up to 59 weeks of unemployment under the, with the new legislation and rules provided by the CARES Act. And then we've got the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, the PUA, which is for the non-traditional individuals that normally wouldn't qualify for unemployment benefits, but under the Federal CARES Act, you can be self-employed, independent contractor, gig economy worker, and you can still qualify even though you don't have wages in our system to qualify. And this is, at one point, we had a mass of people once we got this program in early April that were ready to trigger on, and we've got them set up. And it's up to 39 weeks, and the program runs through December 26th. Of course, this is the one at minimum, you qualify for 207. I'll talk a little more about that and how you can increase that weekly benefit amount based on your IRS 1040 return. So we'll talk a little more about that. And then, of course, we had the federal pandemic unemployment compensation. That was the additional 600 that ended July 25th. I will say, you probably heard that the president executed an executive action memorandum that states can apply for, and they can, actually FEMA is providing states with funding, which will add an additional $300 to your benefits if it's COVID-19 related. And also there's a new eligibility factor that you must, your weekly benefit amount, which when you file your initial claim, you must qualify or be eligible up to $100 at least. So you must qualify up at least to $100 or more, and then you would get the $300. And we're working on we're actually working on submitting our application to FEMA today. And then we hope, to get the green light and we will, administer that just as fast as we can. So more information, and we'll be providing updates, messaging on that that I just talked about.
Hey, Clay, I mean, obviously this is a really important point, and we actually already have a couple questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people asking on Facebook when they will actually see maybe the $400 a week from the president's executive order. And I know there was a lot of confusion around that because it wasn't the full 400, and the states have to kick in some part of that. Mm-hmm. So what is the actual additional weekly benefit from the federal government? And then what is the state expected to contribute? And then when will people actually see those funds?
Yeah, so right now, the additional is $300, which individuals could see if they're COVID related and, if their claim is COVID-19 related and they are eligible at least eligible for $100 or more. And we're working to, again, submit our application and get that implemented just as soon as possible. We hope as early as sometime next week is when we can try to get that, get those dollars rolling. And a lot of that's going to be predicated on when we get the funding from FEMA. So I don't have a definite timeline, but we are going to be putting messaging out there that will address that, as soon as we're more definite as to exactly when that will take place. But
okay,
that gives you some idea.
It does. I know these things are kind of up in the air right now, but it is good to know where you guys are in the process. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. So navigating unemployment insurance and the help for customers. And this is just some, and many of y'all probably know that have gone through our system. We need When you file a claim, your social security number, your last employer's business name, address, phone number, first and last dates of when you worked for that employer. And then if you worked during the week you applied, we need to know the number of hours and your pay rate so that we can make sure that we deduct anything you earned for that week. Of course, if you're a military employment, we need your DD-214, copy 4, preferably. And if you served in the military during the last 18 months, is when we need that. Also, any alien registration number, if you're not a U.S. citizen, we'll need that information in order to complete the unemployment application process. You can apply 2 ways. Again, we prefer online at ui.texasworkforce.org. Again, that's available 24/7, or by calling our telecenter number at 1-800-939-6631 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, this is very, very busy. Best time to submit is usually early in the morning or late in the afternoon. And also, as I mentioned earlier too, we have Larry the chat bot that's on our website, the bottom right-hand corner, that will answer questions, and also it can provide a callback opportunity for those individuals that may need it. Because of the unprecedented number to reach our UBS unemployment benefit services, we say keep trying and be patient. Really, this was early on. Again, because we quadrupled our capacity for our internet systems, it really is stable. You can access it 24/7. Shouldn't have any problem. Initially, we were pointing people to the evening, but you shouldn't have any problem now. Once a claimant applies, the big thing is we want you to request payment every 2 weeks. And you would be surprised. A lot of people, for whatever reason, and I know sometimes our processes seem a little complicated, but a lot of people really have a hard time requesting payment. Sometimes they go to status. And we've actually done some proactive things to go out there and identify people and send them emails and contact them to let them know all you need to do, your claimant's set up, it's ready to go. You just need to go request payment. So again, just do that every 2 weeks. And you can do that online where we talked about our unemployment benefit services page. And also by calling Teleserve, that's the interactive voice response system, the 1-800-558-8321. Again, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you just select option 1 to request that payment. And of course, we pay every 2 weeks. You can work part-time and receive unemployment. We have a calculation to where, if you're working part-time and you report your hours and earnings, we take that earning amount and we multiply that by 1.25, and then we take that amount. We take your weekly benefit amount. I'm sorry, whatever you qualify on a weekly basis times 1.25, and whatever that amount is, we take that amount and we subtract it from whatever you earned. We call it the weekly earning amount. And then if you receive any benefits, if the weekly earning amount is greater than your earnings, then we'll pay you that difference. And then if, of course, before July 25th, we are also paying the $600, which we haven't been because it ended. And of course, like we just talked about, there will be $300 in play coming soon.
Hey, Clay, on that, we actually have a good question from Tisha related to that. So once the executive order funding has been received from FEMA, will the payments, the unemployment insurance payments, be retroactive from July 26th until present date? Or what's the timeline on that?
They will be retroactive as people come through our system to request payment. It will be retroactive, and we will go back and pay those weeks starting July 26th. And it's that week ending August 1st, that week forward. So, yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, it's important if you're working part-time that you need to report any earnings and hours that you work during that week. Because if not, later on you could have an overpayment, or you could, potentially, there could be an investigation for potential fraud if you continue to request payment over multiple weeks without reporting that and certifying, that you're telling the truth when you're not and not reporting. And so it's important that you report any hours and earnings when you're working part-time. And claimants that work, return to work full-time would not be eligible for benefits at that point. Self-employed, again, as we talked, the pandemic unemployment assistance kicked in under the CARES Act, and for independent contractors, gig economy workers that normally wouldn't be eligible. And I know sometimes it's confusing because people that are under this umbrella, what happens is under state law, federal law, we have to take a regular unemployment claim first to determine if you qualify. And clearly most of these people do not, because they don't have wages in our system. And so when we take that claim, it tells you you're denied because of zero wages. And a lot of people see that, not realizing at the same time, we did take the pandemic unemployment assistance. And so there is some confusion. One thing that I will just share with you, right before this happened, we were about to sign a contract with a company to replace our entire unemployment insurance infrastructure systems that service our benefits, appeals, and tax employees and employers. And because of this, that's been delayed, but we're very anxious, and probably next year, as soon as we can, start working on that, because there are opportunities for us to improve our systems and our, how it functions. But anyway, I just share that with you. Self-employed, we do ask you if you earned more than $20,750 in 2019 to submit your IRS 1040, and we can increase that weekly benefit amount. But if you didn't, you automatically qualify for the minimum, which is 207. And then at the time you were getting 600. Now individuals, if they're just applying after July 20, beginning July 26, would get 300. But you just, and if you haven't submitted that federal income tax return, you still have until December to do that, and we'll go back and pay those weeks retroactively. If you haven't submitted it and you did earn more than 750, which it could increase your weekly benefit amount per week. So I share that with you. Like I said, you have until December 26th to submit that information. This is where you can submit it in English and Spanish. This is a portal which you can submit it, and if I need to, Anna, I can make sure I can provide that information to you or give you the slides so you can pass this on if anybody's not familiar. You can also go to our website and be directed to this portal for submitting your PUA proof of income.
Got it. Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Go ahead, Clay.
I'm almost done. And these are just some online resources. This is our main webpage, twc.texas.gov news. And this, at the up the top, if you click on job seekers, you can go to, the employers can go to their section. I'm sorry, if you click on employers, if you click on job seekers, it's for the individual claimants that are on unemployment. But two, at the twc.texas.gov is where you can also find Larry the Bot that I talked about earlier. And then also, that's the employer number, which really is not something your team needs to know. This is to some employer information that I normally provide. So now I guess it's time for questions.
Yeah, so I've got a couple actually, and some of the ones that I'm getting are very specific. and frankly, they probably need a little more hands-on attention because we don't know what their situation is, right? So, but one thing I do want to talk with you about is related to going back to work. So there was a lot of confusion around this whenever restaurants were reopened, right, on May 1st. And not every restaurant, opened to full capacity, of course, because we couldn't. It was 25 and then 50 and then 75 and then back down to 50. And bars, of course, were opened and now they're closed again. And so there were some questions from the employer side, but I'd like the employee perspective. If your employer asks you to come back to work and you refuse, are you still eligible for unemployment benefits?
Well, again, the way we approach it, Anna, is we approach each case on a case-by-case basis.
Sure.
And it really depends on that reason. What we want to happen is we want the individual and the employer to work together to communicate and work it out. And so, but potentially, depending on that reason why that individual cannot go back, they potentially could be, and they may not be eligible for regular unemployment, depending on what that reason is, but they could be eligible, if we determine that they're not eligible and we deny the regular unemployment, they potentially could be eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance, depending on what that reason is. But typically, a lot of times under what we call job refusal cases or what we call suitable work, if it's the same job as you had before, and the employer, provides a safe working environment, and you work with that, and you make sure you ask questions, because if there's a concern, the employer, we want the employer to work with them and work through that. And that's what I mean by talking through it, and then come to an agreement, that they can, it's a safe environment to where they can perform the same work as they did before. Now, if that happens and they refuse that work, then many times we deny those claims.
Sure. I guess the question is then, how does one determine what is a safe working environment considering the situation with the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a good question. And of course, we're not an agency that regulates what's a safe working environment. And so again, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk to the claimant and we're going to talk to the employer to get both sides of the story and try to determine, what we feel like, whether it's safe or not.
Okay. Yeah, I know these are difficult questions, but
Yeah.
These are questions we get asked all the time. And
Sure.
There's another lady on Facebook, and I made sure she had your number, so she's going to call you.
Sure. Well, and sometimes we want to be careful, Anna, just to make sure, because some people say, "Well, am I eligible?" Well, there's a lot of factors that come into play, and it's hard for me to just tell anybody, "Yeah, you're eligible,"
Right.
because it really depends on the unique circumstances of that claim and that's affecting that individual.
It is. And there were, before the pandemic hit, there were 50,000 restaurants in the state,
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about the average number of employees associated with that, just in our sector, not
Sure.
all the other industries that were affected by the closure of restaurants and the pandemic overall. But I do know it is a case-by-case basis. So it's kind of hard to answer some of these. We do have another question from Benjamin on Facebook, and he's asking, what if your company has chosen to be closed until February? So that's obviously past the December date that you were mentioning earlier. What's going to happen with people like that?
Okay. So it depends. And on that one chart, I laid out the various programs.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's on regular unemployment benefits and they're covered, and they haven't exhausted the 26 weeks, then they could still be eligible, on through. If they've exhausted and they're on one of the federal programs that's set to end in December, then there wouldn't be benefits available. Because usually when somebody files a claim for unemployment, it's good for 1 year, what we call the claim period. And so if once they exhaust, they're really not eligible for unemployment for another year. And so in those cases, the same would be true. And if the program ends, then there wouldn't be benefits available if they exhaust unemployment benefits.
Sure.
It just depends on where they're at, within the monetary entitlement, the amount of benefits, the maximum they qualify for, and what program. But if it's one of the federal programs like the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance for the self-employed, independent contractors, those programs would end right now, December 26th, week ending. Of course, depending on the economic conditions, I don't want to speculate, but there could be an extension, there could be changes made by Congress, and so. But right now, if they've exhausted and it ends December 26th, then there wouldn't be additional benefits for those individuals.
Got it. Whenever the pandemic started and everything happened, it's hard to pick a date in my mind of when, I'm talking about, but there for a while, people that were receiving unemployment insurance benefits were not required to look for other work, right? That got suspended. And then it came back on, I don't remember which day they were required to look for work again.
I think that was a teaser, and I say that, we had made some public announcement that it was coming back, but because of the pause by our state, we were really thinking Texas was reopening, and then there was a pause, and things didn't quite reopen. And so we've still been waiving work surge. We've never reinstated work surge.
Got it.
And that is something that's out there that, at some date, we could come back, and if we do, we're going to give plenty advance notice. I would, before we were given 4 to 6 weeks, at least 4 weeks notice that look, and we'll send a notice. We'll have messaging, there'll be a press release, and there'll be individual notices that go to claimants, letting them know that, hey, starting now, you're going to have to start searching for work.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I'm glad we were able to clear that up, because I know there were rumors circulating online where people were required to resume the work search whenever restaurants, speaking about that industry specifically, were reopened May 1st. And then some people said, no, I don't think so. So I'm glad we were able to clear that up a little bit. That's helpful to know. Definitely let us know as well before that gets reinstated, because we have obviously a lot of contact with the industry. So we would definitely want to let people know as well. I know this is more on the employer side, but this shared work program for Texas has really been a blessing for a lot of employers and for employees that, need to work, but also still need to receive unemployment insurance benefits. Could you give maybe a quick overview of shared work from the employee perspective on the benefit that they receive if their employer is doing that kind of program?
Sure. And I just want to start off by saying the shared work program is really employer driven, and it really requires the employer, to reach out, contact us, submit an application. And then, there are some specifics related to that. The hours must be reduced by 10 to 40%. So if somebody's outside that range, if their hours have been reduced, less than 10 or more than 40, then they wouldn't be eligible under shared work. They could be potentially eligible for something else, but I just shared that with you. But what happens is the employer submits the application, and they identify all the employees associated to it. And then what the employee does then is we get the list of all the employees associated with it, and then the employer updates us. And then I think we have a new system in place, and I may have to follow back up on exact details, but what happens is the employee acknowledges that they are unemployed, and then that kind of creates the shell claim in our system that allows the employer to submit the biweekly payment request, and then we issue that partial payment to individuals for unemployment, and then also uh, whatever additional payment that's in play. It was 600, now it's going to be 300. But what they do, what the employee has to go in and acknowledge that they are unemployed and provide, of course, some a profile of how they want their payment, whether they want a debit card, whether they want direct deposit, and some other critical information that we rely on to process that payment request that the employer provides. But it's really, employer driven, that, helps the employer retain their employees, keep them on benefits, while also giving that employee a supplemental payment to offset the reduction that they're experiencing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. We've talked about shared work with them, with Commissioner Demerson and Tommy Simmons multiple times. It's a great program, and not every state has that. So it is nice for Texas employers to have that option. And I think it's a good benefit for employees too.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this, Clay. Whenever an employee, if an employee tests positive for COVID, under the FFCRA, the employer is required to pay them sick leave while they're gone. They cannot collect unemployment insurance at that same time, right? Because technically they're still employed.
Yeah, and again, I'm not familiar with exactly that scenario. But yeah, if somebody has not been separated from employment and they're still being paid full time, then yeah, they cannot, they don't qualify for unemployment benefits.
Right, okay, just want to make sure. Let me double check on Facebook. Let's see here, okay. This is a good question coming from Ryan. He says, are regular unemployment benefits being extended too? He's general manager of a bar that can't open, of course, because of state order.
So yeah, regular unemployment benefits. Yeah, with that, and I touched on that earlier, in that, somebody can qualify up to 26 weeks for regular unemployment if they're covered.
Could you go back to that slide actually, Clay? Because it was really good.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk
I feel
about
like I need to study it for a good 20 minutes to understand everything going on in there, but that would be helpful.
Is it? Got it? Well, it's got the.
That's fine. That's fine. This we can see.
Just go back.
Yes.
So yeah, under regular unemployment, we do have the extension. So we have 26 weeks of regular unemployment right here in the beige. I don't know, I assume it's beige for everybody, but we've got 26 weeks of regular unemployment. And then right now under the CARES Act, we have an additional 13 weeks of pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. And then on top of that, Texas triggered on to what's called state extended benefits and high unemployment period. So that's an additional 20 weeks, I'm sorry. So that's 33 weeks of an extension that somebody potentially is eligible for on top of the 26. So somebody on regular state unemployment could get up to 59 weeks of unemployment benefits. So yeah, there are extensions in play for individuals that are on regular unemployment benefits.
That's great. Thank you, Clay. Yeah, that's helpful. Ryan, I hope that answers your question in there too. And I hope you don't mind, Clay. I took a screenshot of that slide. I feel like
it's
handy, so we can take a look at that.
Well, and again, make sure that not on that slide is that additional 20 weeks
right
of that adds to even that 13 weeks federal extension. So it's up to 59 weeks if you're on regular unemployment.
That's great. Okay, you guys have any other questions? I'm going to give it a couple more seconds to see if there's any questions coming in from Facebook or on Zoom. This has been very educational, Clay, for me. Thank you so much for making.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here. Anytime, yeah. And I know you're right. We've had several, I think the local owners of restaurants, and Austin that are familiar with a lot of our staff, especially that have been part of our mass claims program, shared work, and you name it. So I remember early on, I was involved with an employer. I think it was just a conversation. I mean, it was like right at the very beginning.
And what was going on?
It was actually, I think Representative Rodriguez had set something up with some.
Eddie? Yeah. He's great. He's really great. He's been very beneficial too. That is a good point too. If we've told people, employers and employees both, if you can't for some reason get in touch with TWC, call your rep, because they typically have all the cell phone numbers for people over there.
Sure.
They will help you out. They will help you out. Okay, so Adam had a follow-up actually related to, he was the one that I was asking about regular unemployment benefits being extended. And he said, is that going to kick in automatically, or do they need to take additional steps or submit anything else?
No, it kicks in automatically. Yeah. They just keep requesting payment, and it will kick in and auto enroll you through our system. There is like a extra day or two, but yeah, it kicks in automatically. There's nothing they need to do.
Perfect. All right, that's great. Well, seeing no other questions at the moment, Clay, I think we'll let you go early. I really appreciate you making the time. I see Chris has joined us too.
Okay.
As a non-video participant. Chris, I didn't know if you had anything.
Chris, you want to say hi to Anna?
Hello. Yes. No, I've just been listening. I think Clay's really covered it well. And, the only thing that I would like to add is just let folks know that we've got a lot of, all the employees at the TWC care. We're doing our best. We understand that there can be challenges getting in touch with us, but even behind the scenes, we're doing everything we can proactively to see and identify problems and reach out to those folks as well. So we're working hard for the folks at Texas, the claimants, the employees, and also the employers.
I really appreciate that, Chris. I know that we love our industry, and we love the people that work in this industry. We want them to be taken care of if for some reason they can't, whether by state order or something else. Hopefully, if everyone stays safe, we should be able to see that positivity rate dropping below 10%, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so. And that's when we continue conversations with Governor Abbott about, reopening restaurants to a bigger extent as well. So thank you guys so much for making time. Now I have 2 contacts on the employee side. You will definitely be hearing from me again, because we do get a lot of questions from employees.
Yeah, feel free anytime, Anna. Yeah, feel free to reach out. And like Chris said, yeah, we're here. We want to do all we can, and we're like you. We want the same thing. We want Texas to reopen bigger and better than ever. So
good. We'll keep dining out, doing takeout, guys.
Sure.
Don't ever cook at home, please. Just
Chris is my go-to whenever I need to know where to go to, especially in Austin. He can point me in that direction. But
that's good. Well, we know a few good places too as well. So if Chris ever runs out of recommendations, got someone on the inside, we'll help you out as well.
Okay. And it's almost lunchtime. I'm getting hungry right now just thinking about it.
Well, today we're going to Vivo. It's definitely a Tex-Mex day. So
okay.
Y'all have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too, Anna. You bet.
Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.